Okay, 4.8 is over piecewise functions because it's made of two or more pieces. So if you look at question 2, I guess, there are two parts of this problem. This over here, depending on what your x is, it tells you which one to use. So on this first one here, -1 is my x value, because whatever in parentheses is your x value. So since -1 is less than or equal to 0, you're going to use this bottom equation. So you're going to put -1 in for x. -1 minus 1 is -2, and that's your answer. Let's cross off B and D, let's do C. Okay, f of 0. So I'm also going to use the bottom one because 0 is equal to 0. So I use the bottom one if my x value is less than or equal to 0. So I'll put 0 in for x, and then subtract 1, and we get -1. Okay, moving on. Same thing, I have two pieces that I have to choose from. Over here, depending on your x value, that's how you decide which one you're going to use. So let's cross off C and B. Let's do A and D. So my x value is 0. Since 0 is greater than or equal to -1, we're going to use the bottom one. So 0 squared minus 2. 0 squared is 0, and then minus 2 is -2. This x value is -3. So I'm going to use the top one because -3 is less than -1. So I put -3 in for x. So 4 minus 3 times -3. This turns out to be 4 plus 9. So my answer is 13. So you're just substituting. Okay, on the next page, we're not going to do number 5, so we can cross off 5. All right, so we have the same thing. Over here it tells you which ones you want to use, and this time we're substituting twice. So we're going to do this first. So first I'm going to substitute in 1. I'm going to use the top one because 1 is less than 2. So I'm going to use the top one. I'm going to put 1 in for x. That's going to give me 3 plus 4, which is 7. So all of that becomes 7. Well, now I have another f there, so I got to do this again, but this time I'm going to put 7 in for x. I got to use the bottom one this time because 7 is greater than or equal to 2. 7 squared plus 4 times 7 plus 2. So 49 plus 28 plus 2. If you add those all up from left to right, you get 79. Okay, the next one there. So first I'm going to do -1. I have to use the top equation because -1 is less than 2. So I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to put -1 in for x. It's going to give me -3 plus 4, which is 1. That becomes 1. Now I'm going to do f of 1. I also have to use the top one again because 1 is less than 2. So I'm going to use this one again. I'm going to put 1 in for x. So 3 times 1 plus 4. That's going to give me 3 plus 4, which is 7. Okay, so that is the piecewise functions as far as getting the answers, substituting them in. So now we're just left with the graphs, it looks like. So I crossed off 10 and 11. I think those are already crossed off. Okay, so you're going to need probably a highlighter. Okay, and just to be sure, this is the origin. So I'm going to label the origins on all of them. Okay, so now I'm going to graph piecewise functions. This over here tells you where these two graphs are going to come together. So using my highlighter, I'm going to go over to 2 on the x-axis and draw a vertical line. Okay, so now I've got to use a pencil because I'm going to do some erasing here. From my origin, I'm going to graph 2x minus 1. So I'm going to go down 1, and then my slope is 2, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Now the reason I made this an open circle is because I'm on this line, and there's no line underneath this, so it has to be open. That's the only point that matters, is the one that you draw on this line. Now, instead of connecting all those dots, I have to decide, do I want the points that are to the right of this yellow line that I drew in, or to the left of it? Since this says less than, I only want the points on the left. So if this is pointing to the left, I only want the ones on the left. So I want the one that's on the line, and then everything to the left of it. Everything else I'm going to erase. Okay, I'm going to go back to my origin here. Now I'm going to graph this one. So this time my y-intercept is 4, so I'm going to go up 4. My slope is -1/2. Okay, now this one's going to get filled in. It met at this point, and this time it's a line's underneath it, so it's going to be closed now. Okay, so I definitely want the point that's on this line, and I also want the ones to the right of it, because this looks like an arrow pointing to the right. So I want the point on it, and then everything to the right of it. And then I can erase this extra point. Okay. Moving on to number 7, and we can cross off 8 actually. Okay, so number 7, I'm going to draw a vertical line at -1. Okay, so starting at my origin, I'm going to graph this top one here. So I'm going to do the opposite if it's with x. I'm going to go to the left 1 and up 2. And since I have a line underneath, I'm going to put a closed point there. And it's going to be a V-graph. And it looks like it's pointing to the left. This is less than, so I want the points that are on the line and to the left of it. Okay, and then I'm going to erase everything else. Okay, this one down here. So I'm going to start back from the origin. I'm going to go to the left 1 again and up 2. Now this one should be open, but since it's already closed, it's going to stay closed. And that squared means I'm going to have a parabola. And since it's greater than, or since it's pointing to the right, I only want the points that are on this line and then to the right of it. So I'm going to erase the one I put on the left. So overall, that's what my graph looks like. Okay, so I crossed off number 8. We got one more, which is number 9. Okay, so here is my origin. This, I'm going to draw a vertical line at 2. All right, the top one, I'm going to go to the right 1, up 1 from my origin. And it's going to be a parabola. Okay, now this point on this line, it should be closed because there's a line there. And since it's less than, I want the point on the yellow line and everything to the left of it. Erase everything else. Okay, this bottom one here, I'm going to go to the right 2, up 3. So from here, right 2, up 3. This time they don't meet. That one's going to be open because there's not a line there. upside down V-graph. Okay, so this time it's greater than, so I want the point that's on the line and everything to the right of it. So sometimes they'll meet on this line and sometimes they won't. If they don't meet, then one might be open, one might be closed. If they do meet and one opens and one closes, then it's going to stay closed. All right, that again was 4, 8.